Hey guys, thanks for tuning in, and today we're gonna talk about operator in Ableton Live. So today I'm gonna talk about operator. So what is operator? Operator is the FM synthesizer that comes with Ableton Live. Before we get started though, I have to give you guys a brief explanation about what is FM synthesis. So unlike subtractive synthesis, where you start with harmonically rich sound and you use filter to cut out frequency to create new sound, in FM synthesis, we're using a different method. So if you look at the operator that I already have open here on the screen, basically we have 4 different oscillator, or in FM synthesis we call them operator, and each one of these can generate their own tone. But to create that sound, what we do is we open one operator and then we modulate it against a different operator to create a new sound. The best way to explain this by using some kind of a visual guides. So right here I have an oscilloscope open. So let's play a note to see how this works. Also, quick explanation. The way the FM synthesis work, it's always working from the bottom and it's going to be modulated by the operator above it and above it and above it. There is a multiple way to route this, but this is the basic routing for FM synthesis, and you can see it right here. Yellow modulated by green, and then modulated by the light green, and then modulated by the orange. We can change that by clicking this, and then we have a multiple different way of routing. So you guys can try that later on. But right now I'm going to stick with the basic routing. So let's get started. First, what we're going to do is I'm just going to play a note. So I'm going to play this clip, which is basically just a single note. And you can see right here, what I have is just a pure sine wave. I'm going to show you how we can change the tone of the sound by introducing a second operator. So right now we have the operator B, which is already on, but it's not producing any sound because the level is at infinite 0. So slowly I will introduce this and pay attention to how the oscilloscope change. Notice how, like, when the shape change, you can start to hear change in the sound too. And the higher the volume, the more different the sound. So that's basically the basic idea of how FM synthesizer works. How can we make this sound more interesting? That's where the envelope play a big role in here. So I'm going to turn this off first, and I'm going to go with the first oscillator. So we have this. I'm going to play this note. And if you can see, we can play around with the envelope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to something like this. And then you notice it starts to play this kind of sound. Kind of like a pluck sound. And then I'm going to turn on the second oscillator. Right now, I can change the way this sound by changing the envelope of this second oscillator. So I'm going to start doing this. So now if you look at it, basically you have a frequency modulation at this peak right here, and then it goes back to normal. So if I'm playing it around like this, so you notice now I'm starting to change the sound. So I can play with this in the higher range. It starts to sound like that. It's very plucky because you know why? We have a very plucky character right here, and this one is very plucky too. So I can just play around with this. Let's do that. Okay, that's interesting, but let's make this a little bit more. And then let's take it easy a little bit. Then it starts to sound more like an electric piano. If you notice, it's really not that difficult to get your head around it once you really know how this works. So let's make this more fun by adding a third operator. I'm going to change this into something that's more harmonically richer. So I'm going to go with the Saw 64. Why Saw 64? I don't know. I just want to try it out. So let's go up like this, and then let's play around with the envelope again. So I'm going to go with something that's slightly right here, and then let's try it out. So now you have a little bit of a bite over there. Okay, so let's say that's your goal, to create an electric piano. There is more parameter that we can use to control this. So for example, I want to go with the filter, and in here we can actually play around with the envelope for the filter. So let's say I'm going to start it right here, and then right here, when you click right here, this is basically the envelope that's corresponding with the filter. I'm going to go with the envelope, and I'm going to turn it all the way up. That's like assigning the envelope from the filter and how much envelope it will affect the filter. So I'm going to go, let's just do it over the top with 100. Then I can make this longer. And then I can play with the attack, maybe. So that's one way to shape it. And then let's play around with the next one. We can play around with the pitch envelope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to turn on the pitch. Let's just tap it right there. Okay. And then let's add this little bit of a pitch envelope right here. Maybe it's a bit much. Let's tone it down. And then I can add a spread right here. So there you go. So now you have like a nice white piano. So okay, so that was piano. Can FM synthesizers make other sound? Of course they can. Basically, as long as you understand the envelope of a sound that you want to make, then you can make anything you want. So okay, let's reset this and let's make something. Let's say I want to make a kick drum. So I can do that. I'm just gonna go with right here. I'm gonna go with a fresh new operator. Let's start with this. I'm gonna leave it with fix. So fix means it doesn't matter what note I'm playing on my keyboard, it's always gonna stay, and we can adjust this right here. So I'm gonna go with like a nice thick thing, kick drum with a really solid low end. I'm gonna set it at about 48 maybe. 48 will give us a solid G note, very low. You can hardly hear it, but it's okay. So, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce the next operator, and I'm gonna set it to fix, and then I'm gonna leave it at 100, and I can start introducing this, and then I'm gonna change the envelope. And then before we forget, let's change this envelope for. And then just the same principle, when you're creating a kick drum, you need that pitch envelope. So you just turn on the pitch envelope. Let's raise this up to 24. And then let's give it a pitch envelope. And then let's make this the decay shorter. Let's give it. usually what I do is I'm gonna go with the audio effect. I'm gonna go with the drum bus, which is pretty awesome. Drop it there. Crank up the drive. Give it a bit of a boom. And add a little bit of transient. Let's make this and you have a nice solid kick drum. So basically FM synthesis is not that difficult, but yes, it's a bit confusing to start with because it has a completely different principle on how you design sound compared to the more traditional subtractive. But it's actually quite fun. So what I want you guys to do is try this out, play around, experiment with basically the routing mode in here to come up with interesting sound, and then try it out and put it in your song. So there you go, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe because it will help me a lot. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video.